I know there's a government shutdown, but she's still in Washington. She's still talking to people. So we want to get some dialogue as to how she's doing. And more importantly, any feedback regarding this rescheduling. I know it's everybody's favorite topic. So let's get into today's live stream presented by Dutchie. Welcome in, AV. Happy Wednesday. And yeah, we were looking at things that looked relatively flat for the day. And then boom. What was that, around 12:30, 1 o'clock?
12:42, I think it was exactly.
12.
And then MSOS got halted and then went up a ton and then came straight back to earth.
Yeah. Both Canopy and
traded around 25 million shares at the end of the day.
Yeah. What did it close?
I think up 3.5%.
3.5%.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you what that means because
no, 5.8%, 30 million shares total. I mean, it means that the capital markets are broken, and the fact that Doug, he's not Stephen Cohen, buying a massive position in MSOS. I mean, Doug simply put out an email to his subscribers. He tweeted that he was buying it to be compliant with the process. The algorithms grabbed that thing and just sent the MSOS screaming. As well as some of the underlyings. I mean, it's just a function of the capital markets being broken and being starved for information. At this point, they're looking for any data point that says rescheduling is coming, rescheduling is imminent. I mean, if you look, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I recycled a Sarah Carter tweet. Yeah, recycled it. Everyone already knew exactly what I was saying, and it was a satirical tweet to begin with. It wasn't even serious. It was about timing on rescheduling. Some account picked it up, and then the algo picked that up, and you saw that it directly correlated to MSOS driving volume and going up. Like, I shouldn't be tweeting things, and you see the stocks react.
Well,
or some other account do things, especially when it's recycled, just not pertinent, timely information.
Well, I wouldn't underestimate yourself. You're probably one of the most respected commentators, if not the most respected commentator in the space.
Well,
so
my point is, it wasn't anything new. Yeah.
But yes, the system is broke. I don't know if you saw that story, Marijuana Moment. I just actually came along. More than 200,000 people were arrested for marijuana in the U.S. last year. Nearly 188,000 people were arrested over marijuana possession in the U.S., according to the FBI's latest annual crime report. And
that is a shame.
Does that surprise you?
People should not be getting arrested for marijuana.
That is a lot of people.
And I bet you it's mostly petty possession. I bet you it's not or minor possession. I bet you it's not drug trafficking and with intent to distribute or some of the higher offenses. It's probably just people driving with it, getting arrested. I mean, getting pulled over. Cops smell it, they arrest them, and that's that.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't be getting arrested for pot, period.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of people here that are commenting. They like this sweater. What is this sweater? Where did you get this?
It's a sweater I've had for like a decade.
It's a beauty. Some calling it Anthony's dressed as a crusader, right?
Yeah, I've never noticed it actually has a cross on it.
Look at that. All right, lots to get into here today, and we're going to have an interesting conversation. And without any further ado, let's bring in from Project Champion, Gretchen Gailey. It's been a while, but how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Like, has it been, 2 months since you were on last?
It's been a while.
I wanted to have you on, but I'm just like, oh, boys.
You prefer when I troll from the comments?
How is this going to
It's good. It gets the people going.
Okay.
Well, we need the truth. We need the truth for sure. We're going to take everybody that's watching here today. This is going to be just an open conversation. We don't really have a lot of things structured here today, so we're just going to fly. And I think these are obviously when the shows are the best. So if you have any comments or any questions for any of us, and more importantly, Gretchen, fire away because there's lots to discuss. Okay, here we are. What is it? October 15th. It's been 10 weeks? 10 weeks since Mr. President Trump announced in a press conference, he was asked about rescheduling. He said back on August 11th that we should have a decision soon. But here we are in a few weeks, I should say. And here we are 10 weeks later. Things have been relatively quiet. We all know the scenario that there's more important things going on. Yeah, it's been a few months, right?
It's been a couple months.
So
if we're going to be honest.
Here's the first question. At this point right now, and I don't want to get all like doom and gloom. Like it's the waiting part.
I want me to be, Susie happy. Let's go.
People get impatient, but Do you think if he were to move ahead with this, do you think it would have been announced by now, or like, let's not get ahead of ourselves? What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, where do I even begin? All right, so I'm just going to put this out there. Trump's favorite comment when anyone is asking him, when is your plan coming out, is a few weeks. I'm still waiting on a healthcare plan from Republicans. He promised us back in 2016 that he said was coming in a few weeks. He loves to use the term a few weeks. I take a few weeks with a grain of salt, maybe a pound of salt.
Okay.
I do believe if it were a priority for him, he would be doing it tomorrow, which tells me it's not high on the list. And if we are going by traditional school of thought, absolutely nothing is happening until you get done with a government shutdown.
So none of this whole speculation that, hey, we could make an announcement while the government is shut down. I had a conversation last week with somebody said 0 chance when you see, why am I drawing a blank? Healthcare policies just going through the roof right now. And the last thing they're going to announce is rescheduling during that time. Premiums, excuse me.
Premiums is a problem, yeah.
So yeah, that does make sense. So let's just put that to bed right now. You strongly believe that there is 0 chance that anything gets announced during a government shutdown. Why is that? Outside of what I just said, why it would not happen during that time?
In theory, and take this all with, I'm basing this off of, 20 years of political experience in DC. You got to just throw the whole Trump administration out the window because they don't follow that experience whatsoever. But if we were following a traditional political landscape in Washington, you cannot take up a priority during a government shutdown, which is not paying people, which is not putting food on the table, which is not giving them health care, which is not getting airplanes back in the air. I mean, there are so many other things that should take priority over rescheduling. If the government is looking at taking care of pot before, while they're letting a program for children to get food is expiring,
bad look.
It doesn't look so good. It's bad look.
Also, the Office of Management and Budget shut down as well. So, I mean, we don't even have the procedural offices to further anything if he was to announce it. From my understanding right now,
offices are open-ish. They're just not getting paid.
Got it.
So the essential folks are still there. It's not like it's completely gone. Just no one gets paid for their work, except for, of course, the congressmen who aren't doing dick. Those guys.
And this is all going to happen again. This is all going to happen again November 21st.
Yes. And so there's been a little discussion this past week of whether or not they should put a new resolution out there. And if you put a new date out there, then the House has to come back and actually vote on that as well. So they don't want to do that because the House has already passed their version. So that's why we keep looking at these Senate votes that are going nowhere.
Right.
So they don't want to start that process over again. But then if this goes into November, which is looking like easily it's going to at this rate, what's the point of passing a CR that they're just going to have to vote on again in 3 more weeks?
Yeah.
So
love this comment.
It's just a mess.
At the rate we're going, I would think it would be safe to assume that even if we get rescheduling, safe states, none of that shit's getting through the procedure through the House or the Senate.
I mean, safe hasn't even been introduced yet.
Well, I know. We're in
so,
October, and I heard rumblings that Joyce was going to reintroduce it in June.
Right.
4 months ago.
The rumblings I hear from Congress, which I said to many people before that nobody would listen to me. I don't know why no one listens to me. I'm always right. But they are not going to bring anything up for a vote because they don't have the votes. When we should have been trying to pass things when you only needed 10 Republicans. Now you need 50 Republicans to get safe through. It's going to take a lot more work. So why put something out there that they know doesn't have the votes? And that's why SAFE has not been introduced. That's why states has not been introduced. And it has been intimated to me very strongly that none of this stuff will be introduced unless we get rescheduling.
Right.
So
that makes sense, though.
It makes sense because then that lowers the bar for Republicans. It's not so scary. It's something they can vote for. And so that will get us the Republican votes if this happens. So a lot hangs on Trump in his few weeks. Now, people also need to bear in mind when he said a few weeks.
Yes.
He said this in a press conference about something completely different. This was not him making an announcement.
You're right.
This was Trump answering a question to a reporter that he did not want to answer. So
it's like me chasing down a senator in the hallway. You ask a question about this, of course, this was not planned.
So you've been a reporter in DC before. Sure. I mean, you see what's going on. Why the hell is nobody asking any sort of follow-up questions? And are those reporters at any given time given topics not to ask questions pertaining to? In those meetings?
I wouldn't say that anyone is told don't go ask about pot, but you're given an assignment that day, and your assignment is you're covering the shutdown. You're going to go cover healthcare premiums. You're going to cover this. There's just so many things that are a higher priority. Cannabis is not high on anyone's list in the media until it's 420, and then all they do is put out their puns, and it's all a joke. Right. So the media doesn't understand, the administration doesn't understand the urgency that this industry needs for them to act, for us to stay solvent, for this to continue on.
Why do you think he posted?
Go ahead.
Why do you think he posted that video about the endocannabinoid system? Do you think that was just like drunk grandpa just randomly reposting something on social media?
No, absolutely not. I don't think Trump does anything drunk grandpa. I think Trump is crazy as a fox. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. I think he is placating his base by taking care of cannabinoids. I think that he is not going down the rescheduling rabbit hole, because he is looking at, this Delta 9, Delta 8, these other things, they also make you feel good. And I don't have to do nearly as much work to then have to regulate it, to have to deal with it. I think he's going to don't give me that face. I see that face. What do you mean? Because all he has to do, if we ever get a government back, is throw it into the Farm Bill. We're going to age gate it. All it takes is a couple pieces of language in the Farm Bill.
But with the state-run industry, it's already done.
No, but I'm saying, no. See, if they had to come up with a whole actual plan to deal with cannabis, there's a lot more work involved with that. But hemp is already federally legal.
You think they would go that route?
But hold on. But rescheduling is not a heavy lift. You're signing it. You're bringing it from 1 to 3. And the state-run markets that are already regulated and tracked and everything else are just there to operate.
It's not an easy lift, because if, in theory, and I know we love Schedule 3, the only reason we love Schedule 3, honestly, and let's be honest, is because it gets rid of 280E. Nobody cares about the research, which they should, but that is not what anyone is excited about.
I wouldn't say no one cares about the research, but
I'm going to be the one who's honest on this show. So what is a concern then, if this becomes a Schedule 3, then in theory, everything then needs to be regulated, needs to be tested, needs to be FDA approved. Nobody wants to start doing that. They don't.
So I tend to agree with you, but at the same time, right now it's Schedule 1.
Yes.
And it's freely transacting and freely being sold in these markets. Yes. So, I mean, I think that there would be ways to circumvent S3, but I don't think S3 would be implemented in its purest form, how you are implying.
If I am a small, cute little crowd that doesn't have much experience in Washington at all, we'll just call them Big Pharma. If I'm these guys and all of a sudden this industry gets Schedule 3, you don't think I'm going to say to all these folks that I've given billions of dollars to, billions, to start enforcing this shit? And we know what Trump loves to do. He loves to enforce.
Right.
They love to shut shit down.
So
I think we need to
you're saying
what we're asking for.
So you think that Schedule 3 is going to happen and then Trump's going to hand it over to pharma?
I am concerned. Schedule 3 is not going to happen.
Why?
Trump never said he was going to do Schedule 3. He hasn't said that. He said he would make a determination on rescheduling. He could say, no, it's all still a gateway drug. Hate it. It's crap. It's garbage, blah, blah, blah. We have no idea what he's going to say. He has said a couple of times that he believes there are medicinal purposes, that it is helpful. He has said that in a few tweets. And he did say it on the one podcast back in like August. But that's also when he was on the campaign trail. Guess what? Running for president. What do people do when they're on the campaign trail running for president? They lie. So I don't take everything that comes out of everyone's mouth in Washington here as gospel. I think that he has seen that there are other ways. Like, take a look at Target. Everyone's losing their mind that Target is now going to have the THC beverages. I think that they see other ways to move along parts of this industry much more easily. They can provide that reputable businesses are the ones selling them. I think that they are looking at the cannabinoids as an easier sell. It's an easier thing to regulate. I think that that's my concern, that that's the route.
But how you keep saying that, but I mean, it's just not computing.
Okay.
Why did he back Amendment 3? That's
for you to say that hemp is going to be easier to regulate than the state-run cannabis industry that's currently highly regulated versus hemp that is the Wild West right now. I mean, I understand you can change the language within the Farm Bill with some dashes and just put in the language. But at the same time, you're going to need nationwide enforcement as well as nationwide regulations that are rolling out concurrently with whatever's going on in the cannabis industry right now. Sure. I mean, looking at them both side by side, I would argue that hemp is going to be harder to regulate and roll out a standardized system versus cannabis that's already medicinally legal in a little bit over 40 states and adult use that's a little bit under 40 states.
So I want to ask you something real quick. If it is Schedule 2, what would that do to a company, say, like Tyson?
Well, no one said Schedule 2.
I'm just saying, if it's not Schedule 3 and if it's rescheduled, I assume it's Schedule 2.
It could be Schedule 4.
True.
If you didn't want to go through the language of the farm industry. I mean, I think you would go 4 versus 2. I don't think there's any scenario where he goes 2 unless there's a backdoor deal to just hand it over to pharma, which then you would put it into 2 versus 3.
Well, 3 or anything above, we're laughing. Well, I say laughing, but we're in a good situation.
I think why hemp is easier to regulate is because when you're looking at the various state-run models, they all have different rules, different things that you're going to have to weave your way through in order to make that work. And so I think that comes very.
But what do you mean different rules? They're all governed by seed. They're all governed by seed to sale. They're all
standards. They don't.
They're all based on the same principles. The only incongruencies are the licensing count.
Hey! Let's get one. Somebody.
The only thing that's not congruent in state-run markets.
Yeah.
But no, I think you have pretty valid points. But the only thing that's not congruent from a regulatory standpoint in, let's say, Missouri, Massachusetts, Florida, I mean, is the dispensary count, and it's the number of licenses. It's not and product. Okay, so you're correct. In medical market,
testing standards are different. Different products are only allowed in certain states. There are very different standards, especially when it comes to testing and compliance, about what is allowed in each state. There are many states where one product would be, good enough here.
I get that. We can't have pre-rolls. We can't have infused pre-rolls, for instance, in Florida, in the medical market. Meanwhile, they flourish in all other markets.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
But at the same time, with hemp, you have synthetics, which are everywhere.
The different testing standards is a big issue that you will have to deal with.
Okay.
Are you getting that? When I'm talking about like hard metals, contaminants, mold, there are just various standards for all the different states. They all have different rules.
But that's going to be you're correct in that statement.
Okay. And
but I don't. You're talking about those testing standards as it relates to being governed under a Schedule 3 scheduling.
I'm saying when it comes to the feds.
Yep.
If I'm Trump, it's very easy to age gate something. That's not hard to do. And it's not hard to put in one thing, this must meet the standard, and then make people enforce it. They love to enforce.
Okay, so let's channel this in. We always know that he loves big moments. He wants to maximize political impact.
Yes.
Do you feel like in a lot of ways, this is more about calculated approach and timing? And when something that lands, like he's going to want to have the biggest spotlight when if this announcement gets made?
I don't see this as a huge spotlight moment. I see it more as a distraction moment when he's flooding the zone. I see.
What you alluded to as well, Anthony, right?
Yeah. If things start to pop up.
In my discussions with folks, yes, we have discussed a big event that would occur at the same time as when this all happens. So they are looking at that. That is a possibility. This is why I semi keep hope alive, but then I also read between the lines, and I am nervous about why nothing has happened for someone who was supposedly so on board with it.
Just so we're clear, you think in the eyes of the administration, if they were looking on a whiteboard and saying nationally rolling out and legitimizing hemp from a regulatory and a retail perspective, or rescheduling cannabis, they would see the hemp route as being the easier path to go down?
Yes. I mean, Congress has passed laws trying to get the FDA to regulate CBD, and they're like, I don't know how to do it. I mean,
but that's just complacency. That's not
having resources. That's not having anything backing it. I mean, when the main group that's going to have to regulate this has been told, you by law need to regulate this, and they're just like, don't feel like it.
Okay, then if
easily going to occur.
But what kind of backlash?
Okay, well, hold on. So if Trump were to nationally legitimize hemp,
yep,
Delta 9 hemp derived.
He's already nationally legitimized.
Hold on, let him finish.
Okay, but just let me finish my point.
Okay.
If the administration were to legitimize hemp, Delta 9 hemp derived THC nationwide, like actual regulations, and lean into it, the state-run cannabis industry sells the exact same Delta 9 THC molecule. It just happens to come from a differently defined plant.
Right.
That would have to be the inflection point to where everything comes to a head. And we're going to regulate the THC molecule. This hemp versus marijuana stuff no longer passes muster. And it's time to have a very honest conversation around the regulatory framework as it relates to cannabinoids, because D9 THC is D9 THC. And if he's going to do something for hemp, I'm not going to say he has to do it for cannabis, because he doesn't, but I would assume that you would see lawsuits flying, and you would see definitely other things that are pulled to where that does force parity between the two.
So what you're telling me is that the cannabis industry, who hates hemp more than life itself, is finally going to get on the same standard of one plant, one set of rules?
I don't believe the cannabis industry hates hemp. For 1 second. They sell hemp-derived products.
They do not like each other.
Well, I mean, we can sit here and argue all day. I can tell you that the hemp industry actively lobbied against Amendment 3 in Florida against the cannabis industry. So in some regard, I think some animosity is validated in that argument, but I wouldn't say that they hate each other. I mean, the ones that want access to cannabinoids and the ones that actually want to see a national program rolled out, they don't hate the cannabis. I mean, they don't hate the hemp industry.
Yeah.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that argument whatsoever.
You don't buy that they think hemp has been getting like a free ride for the past?
It has. I mean, you can't deny that. You can't deny that hemp has been given a free ride. Hemp has been a fully legal cannabis industry that was rolled out under the 2018 Farm Bill that has completely lacked enforcement and has been allowed to flourish in 50 states, coast to coast. I mean, if I owned an MSO and if I was an operator, you can't sit here and not have any sort of animosity towards the hemp industry. Granted, you can definitely rationalize that to a certain degree, as you don't want prohibition to happen where hemp is accessible and where hemp is putting cannabinoids in the hands of people that don't have access to it. But at the same time, when we're selling the exact same molecule, meanwhile, I'm getting my ass kicked by 280E, and you're allowed to use UPS and fucking American Express, for God's sakes, that kind of warrants some sort of apprehension from other
otherwise
operators.
Known as hate.
Sure, but I wouldn't say hate. They're not trying to.
Right. That's fine.
They're not trying to. Yeah.
I'm not going to give you more grief. I'm not. I would like to give grief to some of my haters there in the comments section. And I would like to clear the air for any who are wondering. No, I have zero investment in the cannabis or the hemp space.
Yep.
I have no money. If anyone knows about my background, I was a journalist forever. I got Jack. And then I worked in politics. Again, not Nancy Pelosi. I got no money. So I have nothing invested in the space except for years and years of trying to see the right thing done. I am not biased. I am not a consumer. I am just someone who believes in the power of this plant. And I believe in one plant, one set of rules. So I'm going to fight for hemp, and I'm going to fight for cannabis. And if you don't like it, suck it. All right, next.
Wow. Where do you play a lot of military veterans involved in this? Because if this industry, what's that?
I said that is a good pivot, Chad.
Good
yeah, you like that? You like that? This is interesting. I don't know what to say up to this point, but I fair points that you're making, Gretchen. But at the end of the day, I just think like we've come this far. There's been a lot of stuff vocal about, from the VA and veterans as well, and the benefits of medical cannabis. And that's near and dear to Trump's heart. Like for him to basically embrace like full nationwide hemp and basically to turn a blind eye, like if there's one group of people that I think he would not turn his back on, it would be the VA and a lot of these veterans. So what's like, to me, yes, you make some points, but at the same time too, I would be shocked if can
you explain to me, either one of you, what Schedule 3 does to benefit veterans?
So I was just going to actually say something in favor of your argument, Gretchen, because if you want to talk about veterans and you want to talk about access to cannabinoids, they can get the exact same things that they need from the state-run marijuana industry in the hemp industry. If you want to argue that cannabinoids are helping veterans in terms of PTSD and certain things in their form today, that's in a non-pharmaceutical substance, they can get flour, they can get concentrates, they can get edibles that do the exact same thing as what you buy from Trulieve in the hemp market. So that the veteran angle, I don't think is an argument to sway either or, if we're being completely honest.
Well, I think factually you're right, but perception-wise, whenever you speak to a lot of veterans, I think it's very much in support of a Schedule 3 process.
I think I've never heard veterans tired of being used as a political pawn.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to follow me on Twitter and look at the threads on Twitter, there's a hell of a lot of veterans that are supporting hemp. There's a hell of a lot of veterans in Texas that own hemp businesses. There's a hell of a lot of veterans nationwide that own hemp businesses because it's easily accessible cannabinoids, putting them in the hands of veterans. They're not jumping through hoops and they're not having to do anything but operate.
To your question, though, Gretchen, this is what we look like right now in the Schedule 3 process. Then the proper research, more research would be involved. So what we know now is up until this point, but what's out there that we could learn more about? That's where I think this could go. And as much as veterans are supporting what's at place right now, who's to say if we're rescheduled in a number of years, what we could be basically unveiling, for a lot of people from the medical side. In the coming years, we are where we are today, but let's face it, we're only scratching at the surface when it comes to actual research.
Sure. And I would love to see more research. I think that is one thing that has been sorely touched upon, what research could actually do for this industry. I think for so many, they don't remember how a lot of this started because this plant is medicine. This is what we need to be looking at it for. And I think that is a better selling point to folks. Whenever I've dealt with politicians, the only thing that has ever turned them when they're a Nancy Reagan, just say no, reefer madness kind of guy, is when someone in their family has been touched and actually needs medical cannabis. That's what gets people to change their hearts and minds. Tax numbers don't do it. Job numbers don't do it. It's when you can see that someone that you love actually benefited from this. That's when they start to get on board.
Yeah.
So we need to get back to the medical argument.
Yeah, I agree. I also wanted to bring up last week, Senator Tom Tillis. He challenged Attorney General Pam Bondi about the Cherokee cannabis farm in his home state of North Carolina, even holding up photos during the hearing. What stood out, though, was when he said, we've got to get this solved at the federal level. Now, I understand Trump and his administration isn't taking cues from Senator Tom Tillis, but it's still somewhat notable to see a Republican lawmaker speak openly about cannabis reform. How much weight at all does that carry?
It sucks that he's doing it on his way out. It sucks that he's doing it on his way out. He announced months ago that he's not running for re-election, and then he gets vocal on cannabis.
Yeah.
Well, he was vocal before in various things.
Not like this.
When it came to safe banking, and he is on that committee and talked about why are we allowing safe to go through when we need to be looking at regulating the bigger picture. But when it comes to Bondi, yes, clearly he's on his way out. Doesn't matter. And cannabis is a growing adult use is a growing topic in his home state. So it makes sense to me that he's talking about it. He's going to have a future after this in his home state, I'm sure, working for various folks, and he's going to have to deal with this there. So I wouldn't be surprised if good old Tillis is lobbying for cannabis in a year or two.
Yeah. What do you make of all these boats that are being blown up too in the Caribbean? And what that, I know you're probably smiling, smirking. What does this have to do with cannabis? But the whole law and order, illegal drugs. Trump has said, a number of times that each time we do that, it saves 25 to 50,000 American lives. And I know it's extremely controversial, but in a lot of ways, do you think this helps build in some ways the case if he starts to get all these moving parts to build a story for if and when he does make an announcement pertaining to rescheduling?
I think the more that we see Trump crack down on the law enforcement side of things is worse for us. I think you don't look like a guy who's tough on crime by rescheduling. And I know we all know that that's not what is going to happen. However, to Joe Schmo, who doesn't know anything, it looks like he is just automatically legalizing a horrible drug. That's what it looks like to the world. And we are not out there educating or telling anyone that's not the case of what would happen with Schedule 3. I know that they are looking for support from law enforcement, and they have been asking for that, to have these folks to back them up, that this is the case that needs to be made. And I also know that law enforcement is very torn on this issue. So, I mean, just look at Texas when, they roll out, all the guys in their 10-gallon hats standing behind Dan Patrick, all these sheriffs locally who are happy to say that it's a horrible thing that's ruining their communities. That's who people recognize. That's who they listen to, is their local guy.
In Texas, yes, but I think there's other there's tons of law enforcement officials across the country that are supportive, saying we don't really want to focus on this and want to focus and prioritize and more.
Yeah, serious. But they're not saying that as like, they're not coming out in force. This is not an issue they're going to talk about. It's just not.
Yeah, but cannabis is not it's not a illicit drug anymore in today's society. It's being sold in Target. It's THC's on the shelves of Target.
Yeah, but what were we discussing just before the show started? How many people were arrested for cannabis this past year?
200,000, Ashad said. Yeah. But at the same time, the Law and Order Initiative, if you look into the data and if you look into any of these markets, crime goes down where cannabis is legalized. Yeah. Arrests go down where cannabis is legalized.
Sure.
The illicit market goes down where cannabis is legalized. All of the data points would actually tell you that legalizing cannabis, which I don't think he's going to do, but reforming cannabis dovetails into the Law and Order initiatives. Cannabis is a wellness product at its root today in American culture. It's analogous to alcohol. It's better than alcohol. I mean, it's not like he's going to reform cocaine.
I hear you.
That would be completely contrary to Law and Order initiatives.
Yeah.
Anthony, you are preaching to the choir. And you know what else is going to be the biggest story happening next week? Is going to be how people are giving gummies to kids who are going trick-or-treating. And why do people do that? Because they love the clickbait. The news just puts shit out there. The regular, I don't even know how the general public
what those gummies
still looks at cannabis as a gateway drug, as an illicit thing, as what's, taught their kid, yes, it's okay to move on. So
what's the data then show why over
I hate to say this, but you know what those gummies are?
I know it's bullshit. Nobody's giving away THC gummies.
No,
I'm aware.
They're hemp derived. And they're in the packages of the
hemp derived. Are you kidding me?
And they're in the packages of the candy that you find on the shelf in Publix.
Irish, that's the greatest comment, but kids love my house though. That's a good one. Yes, I see how that would misinterpret things in a headline story and people would look at it perception wise, but the data shows that over 70% of Americans want cannabis reform. I think that's the perception that we leave behind. That does he alienate some of the people within his GOP party, or does it look frowned upon amongst many Americans with the timing of it all? But at the end of the day, if the data is actually telling the truth that over 70% of Americans want to see cannabis reform, then that to me is the underlying factor right there, regardless of what we think.
Here's where I disagree with you. Yes, Americans want it, but I would then ask you to ask those Americans, where is it on their priority list?
I said,
and I know you hate
it. We're always going to have that question.
I think if it happens, I don't think the world's coming to an end. I think that Americans will be fine with it, but Americans aren't clamoring for it to get done.
Correct.
And let me ask you a question.
I said this earlier.
I know
Cannabis is. We need to make the distinction. Cannabis is popular. It's not important. There's a very, very stark distinction in those two, especially when we're talking about the political calculus that's involved.
Do you think
it's popular, but it's not important?
Okay, so if he made an announcement pertaining to this, do you think he gains votes for people 30 and under?
No.
You don't, huh?
No.
I think it doesn't hurt him. I don't think he gains votes though from it. I don't think anyone who hasn't voted before is automatically like, yes, I'm going to vote for Trump now.
So votes, popularity, nothing whatsoever pertains
to popular. It's not important. Important things will sway votes. Abortion, Medicare, taxes, the border, ICE going into cities. That kind of stuff sways votes.
So this isn't a standalone. I think this could be an issue that if he owns, combined with number of things, it'll increase the popularity of the Republican Party going into the midterms. Yes? No? Maybe? Am I stretching?
I think you need a lot more than cannabis to increase the popularity.
It's I don't know. It's just like I'm not disagreeing with what you guys are saying, but then, we speak to guys like, Mark's been on before, Cohodes, to say, like, once this is announced, this is front page news because it's big.
It is. It's popular. It's not important.
Right.
They're very, very distinct labels. Cannabis could be 99% popularity. I still don't think it's going to sway votes. This country is very left, and very right.
I think when it comes to, it being headline news, when it's, that if this occurs, I think it's headline news because we're the leader of the free world. I think it's going to change drug policy across the world. I think that's going to get other countries off the fence if we are willing to do with things. And so I think that is where you would see the greatest influence. But does it change hearts and minds at home? No. I think sure, this is something that it would not upset my mother if, they legalize tomorrow. If we got rescheduling, she wouldn't even understand that there's rescheduling. Frankly, there would be, what's going on? I can already buy it down the street. And so I think that has also been a bigger problem with us trying to get to rescheduling, is that cannabis has been normalized so much now that it's now legal in 40 states. You can go into a storefront and purchase it, that the general public doesn't even think it's an issue.
So why does he post stuff on his truth? Why does he post stuff about endocannabinoids on his Truth Social? If he didn't think
it's popular, and it's the right thing to do. We have an endocannabinoid system. They don't teach the endocannabinoid system in medical school. Cannabinoids interact with the body in several therapeutic and wellness points. It doesn't mean that it's going to get him votes. Not everything Trump does is for votes. He's not even running. He can't run again. Like, Trump is posting things to be relevant because they're subject matters that resonate, and they create conversation. That's not to say it's not important. It's just,
so what's the end goal when you say popular or important? Popular or important, you want votes, correct? That's the end result?
You always want votes. Votes are very important. What you also want from this is money. I can see some deal coming down the pike with Trump RX and all that jazz. I mean, I guarantee you the man's going to make something off the endocannabinoid system. I love you, Anthony, but you made me chuckle very deeply inside. I held it in because you're right in front of me. But when you said that he did it for the right reasons, or it's the right thing to do, he didn't do it because
what's the right thing to do?
That he posted about the endocannabinoid system because it's the right thing to do.
It's popular. I mean, it's
no politician does anything because it's the right thing to do. That's just not in there. That's not their motivation.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that and be, a horrible person. However, that's just not what motivates them. Good old Marjorie Taylor Greene, love her or hate her, she is the most vocal person right now trying to fix the government shutdown. Who would have thunk? And it's because she comes from a very poor district where this actually matters. Her constituents are being hurt. If medical premiums go through the roof, she's going to have to answer to it and she's going to lose her job.
Yeah.
And so that's why she cares. She's not doing it because it's the right thing to do. She's doing it because she needs to stay elected. If she thought that, riding Trump's coattails on this was the way to go, she would. And when the end comes, it's her voters she's going to have to answer to on this.
Well, I think if you have health benefits that you outline in a video at endocannabinoids and seniors and being covered by Medicare, to me, that becomes an important issue, because you're talking about healthcare right now. So you can tie these things in, which I still believe that at the end of the day, I think he's going to do it. I just think it's all about timing. When that timing is, I don't know, but there's going to be something where there's all these moving parts that come in as to why he's making this decision. He's just not going to get in front of a podium and say, bam, I'm rescheduling cannabis. There's got to be law officials involved. There's got to be, stories of expungement. All these moving parts have to come into play. And I think some of these acts that are going on in the Caribbean right now, as much as it's very confrontational and there's a lot of people disgusted by how this is all playing out, I think that all plays into the narrative. And when that happens, I don't know when, but I think this is all part of a strategy that ultimately he will make a decision on it. That's just my take. You disagree?
I tend to agree. I agree with you. I don't think he's about to railroad the entire industry and legitimize hemp and leave it in the cold. I mean, you still have a $30 billion industry that employs 500,000 Americans.
Yeah.
If the industry doesn't get reformed, I mean, the industry's dead.
Yeah.
There is no cannabis industry moving forward.
Who is behind the Commonwealth Project? What's his name?
Howard Tesler.
Okay.
Out of Palm Beach.
All right. Maybe we should see what it's hemp and medical marijuana.
His main mandate is to have hemp-derived cannabinoids covered by Medicare. He also, his son owns a single state operator in Massachusetts.
So what does that do to his company if Trump turns his back?
To be completely frank, the man's worth tens of billions of dollars. I don't think $100 million write-off he's not going to lose sleep about it.
Maybe.
I also, he's best.
He'd make 10x. Yeah, he'd make 10x whatever happens. I'm going to assume that he's going to be paramount in whatever happens moving forward. Also, keep in consideration that the Commonwealth Project was a proponent to the rule in the ALJ hearing relating to rescheduling. And on their website, there's a lot of pro-rescheduling content if you really dig through it.
Well, as he got a jet, maybe we need to download that flight tracker app when he goes to Washington. But wink, wink. But no, we won't go that far. But this has been great. I had a great conversation yesterday with the CEO of SNDL, Zach George. We talked about a lot of things about who he was as a person. Maybe we should ask a couple questions to you, Gretchen, before you leave. But how did you get a career in Washington? Why? And when did it really start?
Okay. I first interned in Washington when I was 20 years old.
20 years old.
Yes, for NBC News. And my first week on the job was 9/11. So that was amazing from a journalistic standpoint. I had no interest in cannabis. Every job that I held, that was not an option. There's morality clauses, various things that you're supposed to have when it comes to the media. So I was a journalist for the first 12 years of my career working in Washington.
Wow.
I worked for Fox, I worked for NBC. I was mainly a field producer. I did on-air time. And then I went to the Hill. Then I did a couple years on the Hill. I left the Hill after government shutdown because I thought it was bullshit that I had to come into work every day and I wasn't getting paid for it. And so then I went into corporate PR because that's what you do if you're a comms person in DC. Hated it. And then I had some friends who were starting a cannabis company, a small little cannabis data firm called New Frontier Data. And they said they needed help with communications and government affairs. And so they talked to my firm about trying to hire us. And we quoted them, I believe, like $30,000 a month, which is typical K Street type prices.
Right.
And they're like, okay, why don't you just quit and come and work for us? And, this is all going to be amazing. We're all going to be on yachts in 2 years and pot's going to save the world and blah, 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 blah. And I was just bored and I had never gone the entrepreneurial route. I'd always worked for big corporations or for the government. So I was like, all right, what the hell?
Yeah.
And plus working for Fox, I have no problem working for the dark side or kind of weird things. So I was like, all right, I'll go work in cannabis.
And for those who like to know, anybody's in broadcasting, I know a ton of broadcasters that after their career's done, they get into some form of politics. So that's only fitting that what you're doing right now. Have you ever looked at qualifying if we were to have you do some freelance work for us and actually submitting for a press pass and maybe ask some of these questions to President Trump? Is that something that could be done?
Yeah, easy.
Let's get it done.
Easy?
Well, this administration has made remarks that they are willing to take on podcasters and various non-traditional media and allow them into the White House.
They have.
And I used to go to the White House and, when in the good old days and actually work there. So
this podcast is not about opinion, but we're actually making some business choices here live on air, everybody. So let's talk after the show and see if we can get that underway, because that's just the reality. The only way that we're going to get this in front is somebody that understands the space, understands how to craft the right question with some substance behind it, and then keep asking the question over and over and over. Because there are just people that'll come up with a random rescheduling question, but they don't really understand the space. They don't know how to follow up with that. And that's what we have dealt with. And quite honestly, it's the reason why we're now on to 10 plus weeks since we've last had a question, not a comment, but a question pertaining to this, right?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who.
What question are you referring to?
I'm not really questioning. I'm just saying this is what we need to get done in order for you.
Well, sure, I can get in the room and ask a question. I'm going to get blown off immediately, but if that's what y'all want to see, you're not going to get a substantive answer, especially from the press secretary. She, love her or hate her.
Oh no, Shad's talking about asking the big guy.
Could
you know how easy it is to get in to talk to the big guy? That's a little trickier.
Pretty tough.
I mean, to do that, you would have to be a part of the pool. I would not be a part of the pool as a podcaster.
How do you get part of that pool?
You got to be one of the big boys.
It's like Fox News or CNN.
And while I'm sure y'all would love it, their job as the pool is you're working for everyone. So they're not going to just randomly throw out some pot question when they're supposed to be covering the news of the day. That's not how it works.
So when you look back at it, it's actually pretty impressive that we got that question even on August 11th, don't you think?
Well, that question was also more aligned asking him about.
Was that after, Anthony, the Wall Street Journal report or story?
It was the Monday. It was the Monday after the Wall Street Journal article came out that Friday.
Right. And so, and the question was, did he see rescheduling as being against, his crime reform? That was the question.
Well, I just saw his body language. He looked back at Attorney General Bondi.
He didn't want to answer the damn question.
I realized that, but then I also look at what she's been doing since, like going to we don't see stories like this, going to Chicago and retrieving 600,000. I'm not saying like 600,000 vapes is a lot when you look at all that's being basically issued across the country, but still 600,000 black market vapes and make a story about it. That to me is all part of this storyline that he's trying to build out here, because name me a time an attorney general did something like that and that became a story. It didn't, but
well, I mean, the attorney general is doing all sorts of weird things she never did before, like throwing away the Constitution. But
yeah, all right, we won't.
Elian Gonzalez and Janet Reno.
Oh boy.
That was a fun time in American history.
That was good. I love the picture of them trying to take the kid and him screaming in like his mother's arms. That was a good PR stuff.
And no signs of anything you're hearing about this government shutdown as to when it'll end, huh?
Have you not watched TV recently? Hakeem Jeffries is up there they're basically like going on TV and being like, come at me, bro. Every night. They're not budging whatsoever.
Neither is going to flinch. No.
By the way, before I let you go, how's Mr. Don Murphy? We have not seen him for a while. And you know what? If he's laying low, rightfully so, because the man deserves it. He's been doing a lot of work over the last couple of years.
Yeah, Don's been fighting for this industry for the past 20 years, which not many people in this industry can still say. He is enjoying some time off, and he is always enjoying his grandchildren.
That's
and
great.
Frankly, he didn't pick a better time to do it.
Yeah,
Irish is asking how his wife is. She is good. She is up and moving. I don't know if folks know she broke like both her ankles at the beginning of the summer. It was such a disaster.
I did hear that. Yeah.
But she's up, she's moving, she's good. They're great.
That's great. Well, listen, great job here today. Thanks for checking in. People always love to hear your opinion, and there's no skirting around the issues. You're straight to the point. That's what we like in the media world. You got to have somebody's opinionated, and you and Anthony did a great job here today. So tell Don we say hi, and more importantly, tell Ricky Williams we say hi too, and let's keep in touch, okay?
I would like to leave your viewers with one parting sentiment.
Okay.
Stop reading X. Stop reading Twitter. Nobody knows what they're talking about. Stop it. Unless it is a tweet or whatever bullshit truth it's called on True Social from himself, from the Big Don. I mean, dude, rescheduling is not happening on Friday. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, especially when you say imminent or anything along those lines, or a top official. The top official from the Trump administration is waiting for whatever. It's just day, time. Then I've never heard somebody say that. And even if they did, they're not going to come out and say that. So that's why I would question it. But very, very good point and well taken. Okay.
Stop believing the bullshit.
Stop believing the bullshit. That's the key here today. Gretchen, thanks for checking in. Okay.
All righty.
All right. Gretchen Gailey. That was great. I was about to sign off and just let you guys just take it away. You guys did good back and forth.
I think she has some valid points.
She has some very valid points.
Things I just don't fundamentally agree with.
That's fine.
But that's the point of healthy conversation.
Good, healthy debates. Yes, I see that rumor. Phoenix Dave Wave, the old November 11th, Veterans Day. That's the next rumor, and people are thinking everybody just wants something to make this decision make sense. So yes, she has very valid points. There also was an interesting comment. I wanted to comment this earlier, and I love it when people, holy cow, do we have a lot of comments here today. I really appreciate everybody for logging on here today. And
I don't think, I mean, just using it as a data point, I don't think Kim would throw 25 million back into adult use in the state of Florida that wouldn't come to fruition until 2026 if she didn't think something was going to happen.
Why did Trump back Amendment 3 as well? I think there's more to it.
Trump was backing Amendment 3 for
a jab against DeSantis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hates DeSantis.
He hates
DeSantis more than we hate DeSantis.
R. Stevens wrote back at 409, you people are acting very badly with all the trouble in the world. All you can think about is cannabis. The Democrats wasted $500 billion on war, and we're suffering. Who has that much time? Don't think we're not thinking about that, R. Stevens, but you do understand that this is a podcast for the cannabis industry. This is what we talk about, okay?
What Democrats that's not even worth calling out.
I know. I just thought it was kind of humorous. But look, I'd like to address everybody that's logging on here today, not just positive stuff. But yeah, it was a lot of comments for sure. All right. Mark Cahotis. Mark Cahotis, everybody's coming on Friday. Talk about this Glasshouse Robinhood thing, and this is hopefully maybe a sign of the times that we could see more and more companies. It is a trial run, so let's walk before we run, but very telling, and we'll get his take on what this means, not only for Glasshouse, but for the industry, and then anything that he's hearing about latest stuff out of Washington. So mark that in your calendar. So we got two back-to-back polarizing guests, Gretchen here today, and then as well Mark Cahotis on Friday morning at 11 a.m., so should be a good one. All righty.
Yep.
And then as well, if anyone who's not a member, log on to TDR Plus, become a member today. I had a great in-depth conversation with Zach George, CEO of SNDL yesterday. I had about a 40-minute conversation to talk about everything regarding life and really where he got started and how he got to where he is today. Really an interesting side to Zach George, one of the most respected CEOs in the space that really opened up and gave some really good feedback on where he thinks the cannabis industry and what it's going to look like in the next 3 years. So if you haven't gotten a chance, make sure to join us at TDR Plus, our members community, and become a member today. It's $7 a month and all kinds of insider information with regards to, you know, a lot of these CEOs and among other things, how stocks are going to perform, stuff with obviously some analysts as well. And then Anthony talking about stuff from both the federal and state levels. So some good stuff. Check that out if you can, and we'd appreciate it. In the meantime, AV, thanks for checking in here today. Thanks, everybody, again. And we'll see you back here Friday for the TDR Traded Black podcast presented by Dutchie. Thanks, everyone.
See you, everybody.
Hey everyone, thanks again for watching here today. Listen, if you're getting value from us here at TDR, make sure to check us out at TDR Plus. It's our exclusive membership community. Why? Well, you'll see CEO interviews that go beyond business, showing a personal side that you won't find anywhere else, including the biggest names of the industry. Plus, you'll get insights from analysts and day traders on where the industry's headed, both short-term and long-term, and a direct chat group with our team. It's only $7 a month, just 25 cents a day, and it helps support everything we do here at TDR. If you want to join, just click the join button below and become a TDR Plus member today. And once again, a big thank you for being part of our community. So that's it for today. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.